Hello, viewers. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is my review on the July 29th episode of the July 29th, 2015 episode of USW Wednesday Night Intensity. Quick thing. As you see as the title of this video, I am trying to step away from putting USW Wednesday Night Intensity, comma dot review up, and just put it down as Wednesday Night Intensity, since USW is now trying to move past the hallmarker of USW's Wednesday Night Intensity. It's just Wednesday Night Intensity. And the second thing I wanted to say was, you see this on my face. Yes. USW's, I think, first couple of shows were filmed last week, and at one point, I believe it was tonight's episode. I don't remember, but I had a bruise on my cheekbone from getting punched in the face at Ultimate Consequence, as well as Double XL landing on my cheekbone at Ultimate Consequence when it was above ground. And I didn't want to talk to you guys about it until the episode that caused this to come out. And since something is happening tomorrow, I will tell you right now. I believe it was on this episode of Intensity. Let me just go back. Yeah, it was on tonight's episode. There was an incident where backstage I was walking down to the ring, or I was getting ready to go down to the ring during one of my segments, and slipped over a kind of puddle of ice water that somebody used to wet their hair or whatever. I don't know, wet their hair, drink, or whatever. I don't know. But it was on the floor. I slipped, fell, landed this side of my, I'm sorry, this side of my face into a cement wall. And the bruise on my cheekbone wasn't all that bad. However, after the incident, I got up, went to the ring, did my segment, and afterwards, that later on that day, they said my cheekbone was getting a little bit swollen. So I went home, whatever, went to bed. Morning after, it looked like this. And so the cheekbone is now swollen. As you can see, it even reaches across my eye. So I don't know. But I've been trying to get an appointment, or I got an appointment to get it checked out, and they said I was going to need, it was more than likely I was going to need some minor facial type of surgery to fix my cheekbone. So once again, like the minor surgery I had in 2013 on my tailbone, I'm probably not going to be knocked out for it, especially considering I'm probably not going to stay the night. And since it's a minor surgery, and if I were to have to get the surgery, I'm probably not going to be able to get knocked out. So, yeah, tomorrow, Friday, July 30th, 2015, I will more than likely be getting surgery on my cheekbone. We've already filmed everything for the next few weeks, so I'm good for a while. But I've got to let this cheekbone heal, and I don't know. But that's the reason why that has gone on, and that's the reason why this has been appearing over the past few videos. It's even gotten kind of my eye vision, my vision as well. Like, I can see out of this eye, I can see perfectly fine. In this eye, I see a bump over here in my vision. So it's kind of like I've got that right in my vision. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but this eye is this eye is slightly open more than this eye, and it's because I'm trying to get my peripheral vision away from the bump and just towards the camera and towards this computer screen. So yeah, it sucks, and it's hard to deal with, but I'm gonna hang in there. So even though I may or may not need it, leave all your good luck wishes in the comments below, and fucking on my Twitter page I will plug in in a minute. But do anything you can. Really wish me luck. I don't care. But thank you for the support that you guys have been giving me. So with that being said, follow me on Twitter at Zachary Sarah for updates on this channel and whatever else I post on Twitter, as well as if you have a question wrestling related for the Hardiac Wrestling Podcast or not wrestling related for the Hardiac Questions and Answers series, send them to unitards@gmail.com. That's unitards with 2 Z's at the end at gmail.com, and I will answer them on an upcoming episode of the Hardiac Wrestling Podcast or the Hardiac Questions and Answers series. So, getting into intensity from tonight, I don't know. The show is all right. And I guess I'll give my entire full opinion and description of the show later on in the review. But for right now, I just kind of want to get through the review because I honestly don't know what to think. Because I watched the entire show back again. I even had it running on my phone while I was biking on the what I call the placement bike. But I was watching it, and for some reason, I just kept going back and forth in between my notes and reading, all right, what happened before this? Now what's happening now? Okay, so that's interesting. And it was pretty much just me going back and forth, reading my notes and everything. And even after reading my notes and writing them down, then reading them again, and then writing more down, and then reading them again, I don't know. I just kind of know how to feel about the entire show in particular or in full. So I guess I'll just go by piece, and then go on after that or off that. So I guess we'll start off with the opening promo, which was, excuse me, USW champion Alexander Rotten walking down to the ring, announcing to everyone that there is no one else on the roster that can take him down. He has already beaten Dwayne Porter. He's already beaten Western Light. He's already beaten Lone Wolf. So who else is there? So Kyle Reese, of course, walks down and tells Alexander Rotten that he is right to an extent, but he still has to give Rotten a match for Capital Carnage because there cannot be the pay-per-view, I guess, can't have the USW champion off the card. And I guess the pay-per-view is too big for the USW champion not to be on the card. So Reese then gives anyone who wants to face Alexander Rotten at Capital Carnage the chance to show themselves by the deadline of next week to show themselves and earn a match or get a match with Rotten at the pay-per-view. However, Alexander Rotten is told that he will be placed into a match tonight in the main event, and it will be Alexander Rotten versus the Demon Seth. I don't know if I should be calling him the Demon, or if I should be calling him Seth, or if I should be calling him something else of some other nickname, because Finn Balor kind of has earned that Demon nickname, so I don't know what to call Seth other than like the cryptic demon, or the cryptic whatever, Seth the cryptic or something like that. But I mean, it was an already opening promo. It made sense, and it kind of plays into the fact that USW's roster is so closed in on different portions, or in different portions, where you have the world title feud that goes on, you have the USW title feud, and then all these other feuds have pretty much everybody else on the roster in them. So since he's already beaten Dwayne Porter, and Dwayne Porter is in the international title picture, he's already beaten Western Light. Western Light's the World Heavyweight Champion, and he's already Western Light to an extent, and he's already beaten Lone Wolf, and Lone Wolf is not really in the picture now. He's beaten him, or he's beaten him cleanly once and kept his title all time, so Lone Wolf doesn't really have a reason to get another shot. So with everybody else on the roster just being booked into different places, it seems as though there's nobody to face Alexander Rotten, and I'm glad that they played it off because, spoiler alert, his challenger for next week, or his challenger for Capital Carnage, did not show up tonight, or maybe he did, I don't know. He may have been on the card somewhere else, but For right now, he wasn't he or she, but he was not revealed as Alexander Rotten's opponent tonight, so we're probably going to get that next week. But the promo made sense. We of course got Kyle Reese coming out again to start the show off, which it's kind of getting on my nerves because I want to start the show off with a match, but I don't think. I don't think that tells too much for what the show gives off in involvements. Like with Raw and WWE Raw, I always think, all right, the best parts were not even the best parts, but the most important parts to me, or the ones that I don't want to miss, are the opening segment and the closing segment. And really, if you're gonna have this kind of promo, you're really gonna want it to have it, or any promo like this, you're gonna want to have it at the beginning or at the end of the show. And the beginning is almost the best time because everybody's just tuning in. The show hasn't gone on for 2 hours, so nobody's like, can we get to the damn thing? It's like it starts off the thing. So nobody's really gonna want to go, and after the third match, like halfway through the show, they're gonna be like, "Oh, here's the important fucking promo that we should have gotten at the beginning of the show." So it doesn't work like that. Although that'd be different, it doesn't quite work as well with that. And of course, it makes even more sense, I guess, or it makes some sort of logical sense and reasoning that Seth would face Alexander Rotten because Seth is pretty much, at this point in time, one of the fastest rising talents or fastest rising characters on the roster. So giving Alexander Rotten the challenge with facing Seth, I guess, is another way of saying, are you really ready for a challenger that you don't know, or a challenger that you really don't expect for Capital Carnage or something like that? And we've got 5 weeks until Capital Carnage, so we're just it's gonna be a long 5 weeks. Let me count. Let's see. We have July, so that's 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. About 5 weeks. Yep. So I guess we get a challenge here, and I guess USW is going to want to go with this, since it's going to be revealed next week. They're going to want to go with, oh, we got 4 weeks instead. So they don't want to build it off at 5 weeks before. You might want to cancel a week so you have less, or that way you have you run out of fewer things. Whatever. But the opening promo made sense. It was all right. I didn't mind it. First match on the card is what we get into, and is the 3-Ways #1 contenders match for the Extreme Championship. And Hernasli defeated DHIG and Amore. So I guess Hernasli and Amore are, I guess they fought each other as well as DHIG in this match, I guess. And Hernasli won with the case on DHIG and Amore at the same time, and then covered DHIG for the pinfall win. It said a lot with Hernasli not covering Amore because it seems as though, at this point in time, when this ends, you're like, well, we haven't gotten through the rest of the show. So maybe Hernasli didn't want to pin Amore because he doesn't want to lose his ally. And it makes sense, and Hernasli's, out of these three, probably the best candidate for an Extreme Championship match. So we're getting Hernasli versus Crimson Red, I believe, at Capital Carnage. More than likely. Fine match. I don't care. Or I didn't really care. It was a good match. It was definitely an underrated match out of the entire card, but moving on, we get to the next promo, and that's Western Light going to Kyle Reese, of course, saying that he wanted a rematch against Ash tonight, but not for any championship, although he does want the match to be a no disqualification match, to which extent Kyle Reese accepts and makes the match. However, it would be next. So the second match we jump into, it is the no disqualifications match, Western Light versus Ash. Western Light defeats Ash cleanly. He caught Ash in the middle of the two dust, hit the lantern on him. Pinfall win, 1, 2, 3, Western Light wins. So I guess this was USW's way of saying, well, we wanted Western Light to win, but since we didn't want to screw up the championship pictures from today, or from the world title and the international title, we'll just have a clean victory on the next Wednesday Night Tetsu, which, I don't know, it's kind of lazy if that's what they were going for, but at the same time, I can understand, you don't want the same guy to wrestle for 2 titles or 2 matches for a title each, 1 title each on the card. I understand. It was already a match. I didn't care for it. I mean, I cared for it. It was only about what, maybe 8 minutes long. Didn't go over time, so it was fine. Whatever. Next up, we get a promo, and this is where the Amor and Hernasli script goes in, and it's Amor walking up to Hernasli backstage. He says, even though we're partners, he still wanted that Extreme Championship for himself. However, he was going to be in the corner of Hernasli at Capital Carnage let me change my notes, in 5 weeks. Hernasli then tells Amor that he appreciates that. They shake hands and walk away. So it seems as though they may have a chance, if they're smart enough, to play off the fact that Hernasli pinned DHIG. He didn't pin Amor. So they can play off the fact that Amor and Hernasli are partners and buddies or whatever. And so if one takes the Extreme title, then they are a pretty dominant faction, I guess. And it's interesting the way they're playing off of this whole thing. You know, Amor's still got his partner's back. He's still got he's still got his teammates back. He's going to help him take the title, and I don't know, maybe this could lead up to a breakup between the two teammates. You know, Amor, I guess, attacks Hernasli, costs him the match, and then we get Hernasli versus Amor, which I wouldn't really mind. Hernasli and Amor or Team Case aren't really doing much as a tag team in whole. So I guess that would make sense if Amor were to keep Hernasli from winning. And the only reason why I say that is because a lot of people speculated that this seemed a little suspicious and that it's not usually up to Amor's character or kind of performer or whatever character to show support for a performer that's not himself. So that's the only reason why I see the possibility of a split between the team. That, and also it makes even more sense of the fact that Case isn't doing much, and we've also had rumors of bringing teams from Ferocity up to the Intensity roster, which I'd be fine with, and then Case would just kind of fall into oblivion. So I think splitting up Amor and Hernasli from Team Case would do a little bit for both of them while they're in a feud, and then you'll have to see what you can fit Amor in and what you can fit Hernasli into, following whatever. Maybe it's I don't know, Hernasli could face off for the world title, since he does have the 2013 key in Case in his possession still, and Amor can do something else, maybe blue belt title. I don't know, but I can see a split, and I think now looking at it, it looks like that may be exactly what they're gonna do. So either way, it was a telling promo, and it caught my eye. Sorry, I saw like a fruit fly or something. I don't know. Anyway, we get into the third match, which is bringing back Dustin Raymond's Open Challenge. Dustin Raymond beat BP Fierce. He beat a jobber. He hit the Blue Bomber after catching BP Fierce springboarding off the ropes from, I guess, a seated senton, and hit the Blue Bomber, covered BP Fierce for the win. Raymond then got on the microphone and revealed to those who didn't already know that he was leaving USW in September. There will be an open challenge in every USW show until September 30th, 2015, the night that his USW contract expires. So let me look at what September 30th is. September 30th is a Wednesday. So I guess his contract ends on the final day of September and the final Wednesday of September. So that's very telling. And I guess they're going to use this. I don't know how they're going to use this. They could use this to build up talent. They can also use this to hit a spark plug on Dustin Raymond. Hopefully, they're not going to go in the route of CM Punk with the WWE. You know, he skips town with the title. I don't see that working out. I don't see that being a reasonable decision in USW's mind. Well, even, I mean, not in USW's minds, but in USW's game plan. I'm sorry. And I also don't see that making any sense. Um, I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're going to be doing with this. It's interesting to see that they are announcing this out of nowhere. Um, and it's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do with this. Um, I'm also wondering what is his last pay-per-view match going to be? Because I would take it's going to be top rope, because the final Sunday in September is the 27th, and that's when USW Top Rope is put out. That's the pay-per-view. September 27th, 2015 is the Top Rope pay-per-view. And August 30th, I believe August 30th, if I am not mistaken, August 30th, 2015 is Capital Carnage. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Dustin Raymond for the next final two pay-per-views, if he builds up talent, if he doesn't build up talent. And one of the hardest parts about using Dustin Raymond to build up talent is, are you going to do much with this talent, or is this talent just going to fade away? So I think now the best part, or the best thing you can do, is to plan out who will beat Dustin Raymond in this open challenge and who will not beat Dustin Raymond in these open challenges, and then build up characters through that. So I think it can be a very shit. Now that I think about it, it seems very much like John Cena's U.S. Open Challenge, except it's not for the U.S. title or for any title in that matter. But either way, I think it could still build up talent, and I think it's very interesting. So. And since there's nothing on the line, when he loses, it's not like the challenge can just go away. Like, he can just keep doing these challenges until he leaves, which is interesting. And I think it's a better play from what WWE does with the US Open Challenge with John Cena. So I think this could be interesting and can lead to a lot of great things. I'm hoping for the best. So we jump into the fourth match, which is a non-championship match. Blue Belt Champion Anarchy, new Blue Belt Champion Anarchy, defeated Dwayne Porter. Porter missed Anarchy, ran to the corner. Anarchy quickly hit the chaos. Anarchy picked up the pinfall win. And then Prophecy runs out of the crowd, gets into the ring, stands behind Anarchy as he's in the top rope, celebrating, whatever. He jumps down, turns around. Prophecy is right there, right behind him. And then Anarchy retreats with the Blue Belt title in order to escape an attack. Interesting. I don't see any sense, though, in that. I mean, what about that does... I mean, I don't fucking know. I mean, the only thing I can see that makes sense is that Anarchy or Prophecy didn't attack Anarchy because Prophecy didn't attack Anarchy because Prophecy is a face, so you don't really see a face pull a sneak attack even against the heel all that often. So I guess it makes sense towards character, but all else just seems radical or doesn't seem very. It doesn't seem to make very much sense. So anyway, moving on. Next promo we go into is an interview with the World Heavyweight Champion Western Light about his feud with Ash. It tells everyone that he feels as though his feud with Ash has come to a close with his victory over him earlier in the night, and that's it. So it looks like we built Western Light up to, I guess, one match with Ash at Ultimate Consequence, get that done and out of the way, and end the feud the following Wednesday night by having Western Light beat Ash. And it makes sense since Ash did lose via disqualification last Sunday at Ultimate Consequence, and tonight Western Light beat Ash cleanly, so Ash lost 2 matches in a row to Western Light, and just 2 matches in general, so no real reason for the feud to continue. Interesting. I don't know what this plays along with. Maybe Western Light goes and finds another challenger for the World Heavyweight title. I don't know. It seems interesting. I guess if I were to venture to guess what this means, I guess this would mean him turning his attention to James, since James and Ash had a feud, and then Western Light and Seth had a feud at some point, but then James and Seth had a feud, and Ash and Western Light had a feud, and so since Western Light and Ash's feud is over, I guess now, from what they're saying, um, and James and Seth's feud should be over, or could possibly be over, we could move out of James and just have the triangle, I guess, complete the triangle of Western Light's opponents, then move on to something else. Or this could mean that Ash is just, gunning for one more match, and he, loses to Western Light Capital Carnage. I don't know. I honestly don't see how this works into anything, but it's interesting what they can do. It's interesting to see what they can do with this and what they can come up with. So, moving on, fifth match on the card. Gringo, with Fernandez in his corner, defeated the Martin Brothers in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Gringo and Fernandez both attacked the Martin Brothers, as well as Desiree Kills and Benny Franklin. I misspelled Benny. I spelled it Ben-U. Benny Franklin, when they run after him, leading to Inigo Reaction running down steel chairs, running Gringo and Fernandez away from the ring and through the crowd, helping the Martin Brothers and Desiree Kills and Benny Franklin to their feet. So what we got was Gringo and Fernandez attacking the Martin Brothers. Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin showing up to stop the good guys, come to the rescue of the other good guys and stop the bad guys. But the bad guys beat down the good guys, and then this leads to Inigo Reaction jumping in to try to save the day. This time they succeed and help both of the other good guys to their feet, and the good guys stand tall. I guess it's just very comic book-ish if you were to, kind of relate it to anything. It was interesting, and I don't know why, but I see there being a 2-on-2-on-2-on-2 or a fatal 4-way tag team match for the tag team titles. I guess at Capital Carnage, maybe. I don't know. But this is interesting, and I'm willing to see where this leads. So, whatever. Interesting. Next promo, Seth cutting a promo to James and Alexander Broughton, telling them that everyone views him as a monster. He views himself as a demon. Tells everyone that no matter what he is or what he does, hurt is going to be distributed. So I guess this is a play on words. No, not a play on words. I guess this is a play on I can hurt you physically, I can hurt you verbally, I can hurt you mentally, I can hurt you in the mind, I can hurt you in your dreams, I can hurt you when you're not expecting it. So no matter where he is, or no matter what he is, a monster, a demon, a cryptic psychotic sociopath or a psychopath or a serial killer or a mass murderer, or what he does, fucking haunt you, cause you to get jump scared, or cause you to get scared from jump scares or something like that. Appear behind you in a mirror, or show up, at the foot of your bed at night. I don't know, fucking jack your tires out of the back of your car when you're riding home, DX style. Hurt is going to be distributed. So no matter what he is, what you call him, and no matter what he does to hurt you, you're going to get hurt. So that's interesting. And that really tells a lot going into further exploring Seth's new demonic character. Cool. Sixth match on the card. This may be a little bit of a hint to you about who is involved. Sixth match on the card. Capital versus Double XL ends in a no contest after both men get counted out. It was a physical battle. Double XL was throwing his weight around. Capital was throwing his muscle around. And at one point, both clothesline each other outside of the ring. I think the referee was at 7 at this point in time, and both got counted out and lost the match. Of course, yours truly, Zach Hardy, ran down, hit the Hardiac jaw on both Double XL and Capital, turning into a tweener / a lone wolf instead of a face or a heel. So, for those of you who have been waiting for a hopefully good, somewhat heel, not face guy or character Zach Hardy, you're pretty much getting it. I'm a tweener, so I'm not a face, I'm not a heel, I'm not a good guy, not a bad guy, somewhere in between. Cool. I like the role. I like that role. I can really get down with that. Yeah, so this, I guess, may point towards a Zach Hardy versus Double XL rivalry, and I guess this may get Capital involved. Okay, whoop-de-doo. 7th match on the card. I don't want to talk about my promos or shit or cut or anything, like matches or whatever. I don't like to talk about those too much. But 7th match on the card, Majigeta beat Cannon. Okay. Majigeta hit the decapitator on Cannon, got the pinfall win. Cannon loses another match. Majigeta then gets on the microphone, tells everyone that he is at the top of his game in USW. No one can touch him. Lone Wolf walks down, tells Majigeta that he can stand toe-to-toe with him, that he doesn't need to watch Majigeta become even more full of himself than he already is. And it comes down to, Lone Wolf actually has a point, because Majigeta is getting kind of full of himself. Oh, I beat Zach Hardy twice. And it's not out of spite or anything like that, but hey, I beat Zach Hardy twice. Hey, I just beat Cannon. Hey, I can beat Yo-Yo Joe. Hey, I've beaten Morbid. Hey, I've beaten fucking Western Light. Hey, I've been a world heavyweight champion. I've been the USW champion. I've been the international champion. Suck it. Lone Wolf challenges Majigeta to a match at Capital Carnage 2015. Majigeta accepts, walks out of the ring, up the ramp to the backstage area. Lone Wolf watches Majigeta walk away while smiling because he has gotten a match against him at the biggest USW event of the summer, Capital Carnage. Okay, so we've just put down Majigeta versus Zach Hardy. We put down Lone Wolf versus Alexander Rodden. So now we're getting Majigeta versus Lone Wolf at Capital Carnage. I'm down for it. I mean, I'm not uninterested in the match. They had a few great matches last year in Call of Greatness 9 in their first match, where Majigeta beat Lone Wolf for the World Heavyweight title, and then they fought again at Final Chapter, where again Majigeta beat Lone Wolf for the World Heavyweight title. And I'm trying to think what else, or what was after Final Chapter. I'm pretty sure it was Tap Out, where then Capital beat Majigeta for the World Heavyweight title. And I believe until the international title picture came around, that was Majigeta's last run at a championship. So they had two great matches at Call of Greatness 9 and Final Chapter 2014. And let me tell you, their match at Call of Greatness 9, I feel somewhat responsible for this, and I feel somewhat upset whenever this is mentioned. Not upset, but disappointed in myself, I guess, somewhat, when this is mentioned. But Majigeta versus Lone Wolf's match at Call of Greatness 9 was probably the most underrated match in all of USW history, because Majigeta versus Lone Wolf for the World Heavyweight title was the match immediately before Zach Hardy versus Morbid for the World Heavyweight, or for the USW title, that was built up for almost a year. Hell, the result of that pay-per-view led on to Sports Center, which was fucking mind-blowing. And probably the only reason why was because ESPN's headquarters are in Connecticut. USW's headquarters and where it was filmed was or USW's headquarters were in Connecticut. Not to mention, USW Call of Greatness 9 was very, very hyped. I think there was a commercial or 2 or 3 on broadcasting platforms and stations and whatever. I think there was. I thought I saw one on ABC last year, but it was a big event, and sadly, the reason why was because Zach Hardy versus Morbid was built up since July of the previous year, and it was for the USW title. It was a no holds barred match. It was the career Zach Hardy's career versus Morbid's career, Zach Hardy's streak versus Morbid's streak match, and everything was on the line. And Morbid versus Lone Wolf for the World Heavyweight title was immediately before Zach Hardy versus Morbid, and it was just so underrated, and it was the best match they've ever had against each other. Mind you, they had another great match at Final Chapter 2015 that was not underrated, but it was still just very disappointing for me to know that. And now we get another shot at Majigita versus Lone Wolf to make sure we have another great match, and this can build up both performers so well. And for Cannon, what does this say? It seems as though Cannon is, at this point in time, it'd make no sense. Nothing would make any sense other than Cannon faces one more match, or faces off in one more match, or one more pay-per-view match at Capital Carnage against whoever, loses in that match, and then goes absolutely apeshit. Because if he doesn't go apeshit by Capital Carnage, or by the end of his showing at Capital Carnage 2015, it makes no sense, and that character is pretty much motionless, or not motionless, it's pretty much just directionless. Because, I mean, you've had him lose to Yo-Yo Joe. You just had him lose to Majigita. So what else can Cannon possibly do if when he loses, which is what I'm pretty sure they're building up for, but when he loses at Capital Carnage, unless he blows a gasket and goes absolutely apeshit, what is he going to do? So think about that, USW. Think about that. I'll look into the webcam. I'm sorry. There you go. I'll look into the microphone. I'll look into the camera. Fuck me. I'll look into the camera. Mind you, if Cannon does not lose his shit by Capital Carnage 2015, just scrap that whole gimmick and that whole storyline altogether, because it'll make no sense if he doesn't blow his gasket by Capital Carnage 2015. He's already under enough pressure now that he's lost two matches to Yo-Yo Joe. He's lost, I think, what did he face off before Yo-Yo Joe? Oh, I completely forgot. He lost, I think, 3 matches to Dustin Raymond. He lost 2 matches to Yo-Yo Joe. He just lost a match to Majigita. So what if he doesn't blow his gasket by Capital Carnage? I can't say this enough. If he doesn't blow his gasket by Capital Carnage 2015, the storyline will make no sense. We'll leave you with that. And we go into the 8th match, which is the main event of the card. Seth beats USW champion Alexander Rotten via countout. And here's the ending to the show. And I'll read you this in full. Seth hits Alexander Rotten with a super kick, which knocks Rotten out of the ring. Seth then hits the Oblivion on Rotten whilst laying on the ground outside the ring. Just barely gets in the ring to beat the count of 10. So you see Seth hit a fucking clocker underneath the chin of Alexander Rotten. Alexander Rotten goes... It's like he died or something. Goes back first, rolls out of the ring like a limp. Just a limp body. And then Seth goes to the top rope, hits that fucking Red Arrow evolved Oblivion. It's not just the Oblivion. It's like an evolved version of the Oblivion. The Oblivion was the Red Arrow. He fucking evolved that. He did a twist, a turn, and I think a front flip or something like that, or a barrel roll in midair. Just got in, I think, at 9.5, and Alexander Rotten got counted out. Seth wins via countout. And then Rotten, I believe, got up at some point and walked away, deciding, you know what, I'm not going back into the ring, so I'm just going to leave. Kyle Reese then walks out. Of course, Kyle Reese has to end the show. I'm kind of getting sick of that. It's really starting to bug me because it's reminding me of the Authority. And I don't like the way the Authority is going, and I don't like this kind of turn on this whole play thing. I don't know. Kyle Reese walks out, tells Alexander Rotten that he has met someone who wants to face Rotten at Capital Carnage 2015. He will meet him next week. But as for Rotten, next week, he will face Seth again in the main event of next week's Intensity in a no disqualifications match to ensure that a clean finish ends their match. Reese walks away, Seth stands in the ring, staring down Rotten. Rotten looks around in disgust to end the show. One complaint that I will, one thing I will give USW credit for in the terms of Kyle Reese's involvement in the show, kind of like the authority. At least the promos he cuts are not the same thing every week. They're not just to hype up the show, but they're also to do something in general. Whether some of them are to hype up the show, some of them are to hype up the next pay-per-view, some of them are to hype up the commentary, some of them are to help hype up just one specific match, some are just to hype up one person. One is to ensure that a clean finish happens. One is to reverse the decision so that way nobody gets away with a cheap victory or a cheap loss. And, he just switches it up, and it's interesting, and they give it leeway, and they give it some sort of variety. So I will give USW credit on that, and it keeps me from absolutely hating these Kyle Reese segments because they do have varieties, and that's awesome for me, and I love that. So there you go. And that's how you end the show. So all in all, the show was good. Even after reading back my notes, I'm probably still gonna have to watch it again because I will watch it again. It's worth another watch. But I don't know. It's like even after reading my notes, I'm still not closed in on how good it was or how bad it was. I think out of reading my notes again and paying close attention to them, I don't know. It's also because a lot of these things, I don't have enough information on some of these things, or there hasn't been enough character development or storyline development between some of these feuds that lead into Capital Carnage or whatever. So I can't really ensure, if this was a good setup for feuds or for the pay-per-view, or if it wasn't. So I guess I'm just gonna go with my gut, and if I were to answer this like a fan, I would probably say it was a 3-star worthy show or a 4-star worthy show, depending on how you look at it and how you perceive these promos and really feel the build up in some of these promos, and even going and looking through the matches. But if I have to put a rating on it myself as a reviewer, which I'm gonna see if I can start putting a rating towards these shows of Intensity and Ferocity and Raw and SmackDown and NXT or whatever. But I guess if I had to do it as a reviewer, I'd probably say 3 stars. The matches were solid. The promos, most of them made sense. I'll bump it up to a 4. I'll bump it up to a 4-star because the matches, pretty much all of the matches were solid. Most of the promos were solid, and they had some kind of explanation for them or reasoning for happening. And then there were very few things that didn't really matter, at least for now, which simply are like the Capital XXL and Zach Hardy promos, the Gringo, the Western Light and Ash interview, I guess. And for right now, the Dustin Raymond contract, explanation or reveal or whatever. And then I guess, and I guess that's it. And the ones that you really don't have enough information on right now would be Gringo and Fernandez, the other 3 tag teams, and probably Majigeta and Lone Wolf. So either way, most of these promos were solid. They were solid. Most of these promos were solid. Most of them made sense. They had an explanation. They had a backstory. They had character development. They were developed well. All of the matches were solid. Even the ones that ended in no contest or ended in a countout / disqualification ending, such as the Capital versus Double XL no contest ending, and the Seth and Alexander Rotten match, and even the Three-Ways #1 contenders match for the Extreme Championship, Hernasli and DHIG and Amore. That was even a good match, so 4 stars, and that's pretty much that. So tell me what you guys thought of the show in general. in the comments below. And that's pretty much it. So I pretty much going to leave it at that. So 4-star rating for intensity tonight. Loved it. We are, for right now, we are 50 seconds away from midnight. So I'm going to end the show here. Quick things. Follow me on Twitter at Zachary Serra for updates on the channel, updates on videos, whatever, and whatever I post. And if you have a question for the Hardy-Yak Wrestling podcast, any questions wrestling related for the Hardy-Yak Wrestling podcast, and any questions not wrestling related for the Hardy-Yak questions and answers, send them to unitards@gmail.com. That's unitards with 2 Z's at the end at gmail.com, and you will get your questions answered in the next or in an upcoming episode of one of those. So, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Wish me luck on the surgery tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy, signing off.